since, I don't even know, I think maybe I don't even know, very, very long time ago, at least a decade and a half ago or so. So it really is great to be back, and that's a shameful thing, because my father is a professor in your proud state. He teaches over in Platteville, at UW Platteville, and is very loved by his students, I hear, but that's nothing new. Because I was born in another town where he was very loved by his students called Grinnell, Iowa. Tiny little town. You know it?
I do.
Awesome. It's a great, great school too. And that's where he was teaching, and my parents came here in the 60s, and they were they came separately. They both came from then Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. And they came because of really awesome opportunities that it opened up for higher education for Africans in the United States. There are many others who came as a result of that. Nobel Peace Prize winner Wangari Maathai came from Kenya on those scholarships. Barack Obama's father, Barack Obama Sr. came on those sort of scholarships. So my parents came in that era, and it's been an era that's built ever since, which is allowing people who are deeply talented to come to this wonderful, great country and excel in their abilities and receive opportunities. During that time, my parents here in the Midwest somehow reconnected. She was in Illinois, he was in Ohio. Somehow they reconnected and remembered each other from high school and got married. And all of us were born. And we moved back to Zimbabwe when I was 5. So what I am Zimerican. I was born here, raised there, and proudly an American and a Zimbabwean by heritage. So it's both. And because of that, it's very important to me, this election, and every election really, but because I consider it my civic responsibility to contribute to what happens in this country. I watch this country vividly growing up on the continent, as does everyone across the world watch this country vividly. I grew up went to a high school where I was studying American history in Africa. I grew up in a household where my mother's a university librarian, so yeah, the house was covered in American literature. James Baldwin to Toni Morrison to Alex Haley, to all of Martin Luther King's speeches. His picture was on our mantelpiece. He'd signed it for my mother in '67. And, so always I had an understanding of what this country has gone through and what it has conquered and how it has progressed. And I was proud of that, even though I was growing up on the other side of the world. And the whole world watched. They paid attention to everything that happened in this country throughout its time. And they're watching us right now. And for me, that's very important, because I'm from there too. And, my plays, I'm a playwright, and my plays are always about bridging that gap that sometimes I feel between where I'm from and where I'm from. And it's always about the fact that I see so many beautiful similarities in the humanity of people from these different parts of the world. So I'm all about that. And yesterday, Secretary Clinton she said, stronger together is not just a slogan, it's a blueprint for this country. And that is a large part of why I'm standing here today, because I want a leader who thinks and talks like that, about inclusion, about breaking down the walls that have historically divided us. My parents have lifelong friends in the Midwest, them with their, African people with very thick accents. It doesn't matter. Very close friends with people in Iowa or Grinnell, where they were driving around with tractors this summer. I was like, guys, stop that. You're 75. But they are the connections I've seen across race, culture, religion throughout my whole life has only shown more enriched societies, more enriched experiences, more enriched lives, including deeply my own. So the idea of supporting someone who preaches division and talks about tearing down, building up walls. I want the leader who tears them down. I don't want the leader talking about building them up. I'm looking for a leader who looks forward towards inclusion, not exclusion. So for me, it's very simple why I'm standing here. I had to really have a little minute with myself, and I said, how do I want to feel the day after this election happens? Will I be able to live with myself? The only way I'll be able to live with myself is if I know I did all I could do. That's why I'm here. Or whatever it is, I did all I could do. And, I consider it a real privilege to be able to participate in the democratic process. As we know, in lots of parts of the world, this type of thing you don't even get to have a voice and speak out and to go vote. Those are things that don't exist across the world in every place, many places. And it's also a thing that, even here in the United States, I acknowledge I'm standing on people's blood, sweat, and tears. And that's another reason why I know I must do all I can do. Because really, they left me a lot lighter load than what they carried. And I think about that every time I think about that picture on my mantelpiece. I never got to meet Martin Luther King. I never got to meet Malcolm X. I never got to meet JFK or RFK. These are people who put themselves out there for a more inclusive society and paid the ultimate price. So the least I can do is be a part of this process and give it my all. For me, also, a very big thing is, I'm a loudmouth girl. I was a loudmouth girl since the minute I could talk. My friend said to me the other day, she said, you liked to spar, didn't you? And I was like, oh, you're right. I even sparred with the pastor, when he brought the little girls and boys up to the front, talked to us about how God is like the wind. And I was like, he's like, you can't see the wind, but I was like, I can see the wind. It's like, oh gosh, you messed up his whole message, But I was that kid. I was loudmouth. I was out there. And it was a tricky thing because I was in a society where that really wasn't accepted from a girl. And I was in a home where it was encouraged. My voice was considered valid. What I had to say, my self-worth was really built up and nurtured and nourished in my home. And then I'd step out into the world and other things came at me and told me differently. And so my outrage grew and grew and grew. And unfortunately, there seems to be no end to the way my outrage can grow, because right there on Friday, my outrage grew again. And I didn't know it could get that big. I didn't know it could be stoked that hard. And the fact that we are even considering an alternative, to me, is very frightening, because gender gap issues, the issue of gender inequality is very, very real globally in the United States and across the world. We're looking at a time where there's a predatory mentality towards young girls. A large percentage of sexual assault in this country happens to girls under the age of 18. A very large percent happens to girls under the age of 12. We're in a society where that is still the case. We're in a society where equal pay for equal work still doesn't quite happen yet. We're in a society where we're very deeply offensive things can be said that can perpetuate a rape culture, as it can be called, and people don't even know how to apologize for it. There was a moment to have a teachable moment around that issue. True remorse, true apology, teachable moments where we can start addressing as a society how language and words do affect things. They do affect mentalities. They affect what one feels they can get away with. There's no locker room talk. There's no alpha male excuses. Alpha males understand that that is an area they don't go to, not verbally and not in any other way. So to me, it's a very important moment. It's a moment where we as America must decide who we are, and we must decide who we're going to be moving forward. I want to believe that this nation will lead the charge when it comes to closing that gender gap. I want to believe that this nation is going to say enough and is going to set precedents that will then be followed by the rest of the world, because we are arguably the most powerful nation on earth, and we're about to appoint the most powerful person on earth for 4 to 8 years. And that's a big responsibility, and the world is watching. So, to me, it's quite simple. Secretary Clinton said in 1995, as First Lady, she went to Beijing and she went to that women's conference, and she said, human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights. She laid the playing field very clearly, unequivocally. We must think of ourselves when we think of women, be we male or female. It's about making sure everyone has an equal shot. A girl and a boy have the same shot, have the same potential. One of my plays, the one that was just on Broadway, is called Eclipsed. I called it that because it's about girls in a war zone in Liberia, where girls get snatched from their homes during war. It's happening in Syria right now in the most horrific ways, and used as sex slaves and used as just, fodder, booty from war. And their value, their individuality, their personality gets washed out into statistics. We can't think of these girls as statistics. I wrote that play to put girls vividly on a stage for us to realize there's no difference between her humanity and ours. If her potential isn't being realized, we have a problem. That's something that I would love to see. I was like, what? But that's something that I gave it the name Eclipse because I have hope. I have hope that that blocking of light that girls experience is one that is temporary. And that our light will get an opportunity, that her light will get an opportunity to fully expose itself. And the world becomes a better place as a result of that. Everybody benefits. And that's statistical when women are given the opportunity to fully pursue their potential. So I'm looking at a leader who has worked and fought for women and girls from the second she could, and has a very clear record therein, and for families, who's always had a heart and a soul of service, and you can see it right through her entire career. I don't even call it a career, I call it her life work, because it wasn't about ambition, it was about service. When you hear about her from the beginning, when she first came across Martin Luther King, when she was in her teens, and her drive, her interest, and her ambition towards helping others became inflamed inside her and has been so ever since. Her concern with those things is what makes me know she's the one to lead our nation. Never mind temperament comparisons. Okay, we can go into that if you want to, but I think those are pretty obvious, as is pretty much everything. But I just want to say I'm really happy to be here. This is a very important part of the nation for me personally, and for every election. And I just want to let everybody know I'm here because I'm trying to do all I can. I know that you are here because you're trying to do the same. And I just stand in solidarity with you. We want to make sure people get out there and practice that civic responsibility. The world is watching us, and I know we can get there. I know we can. We are stronger together. Thank you.